Anybody know what CYA means? Any guesses?
Cover your assets.
Ding! Okay, cover your assets. In this situation, your asset is that precious real estate contract.
No. I'm going to be over here.
This?
Yeah.
It's that precious real estate contract because you've worked so hard. You've spent hours and hours and hours at these seminars and these classes and these meetings, and you finally got a contract. Don't you want to do that right? So,
Yeah. All right. So let's go over what you need. Some of these things, I think everything is in your document library packet. This is the workbook in your document library packet. So you got the Texas real estate contract, and then in parentheses I put PSA, which is purchase and sale agreement. Things that is not a document, but earnest money, we're going to talk about that. 30-day close, option period, addendums. An addendum is in there, seller's disclosure. I'll talk about that. Lead-based paint, Addendum A. Put the EM, when I say EM, put the earnest money with a preferred title company. Part of your power team, right, your quote-unquote power team is a title company. I always use, I've got a couple great title companies that really save me time, energy, and effort.
and money.
And money, because when there's a problem, guess who they call? Me first. So it's kind of like Stuart and you and everybody said on the panel, is trying to control what you can. Put it with your title company. And then make sure the repairs, if there were any repairs that were requested, make sure those are completed. Get a lockbox, get a key in a lockbox. You like that? They ask, because we've got to if you guys bring the deal to me, you need to get in there, Nancy. You don't want to wait for them. You don't want to call. What's your strategy? And if they say, if the homeowner isn't comfortable with that, Nancy, right? They're not comfortable with giving you a key or allowing you to put a lockbox on the front door with a key, then Tim, what do you typically do the first time you bring someone over?
What you do, if you're not able to get them to give you a key in a lockbox, the first time you have them meet you, you bring the kitchen sink. You bring everyone, the foundation guy, the roof guy, the HVAC guy, the painter, the floor guy, a couple of investors, a banker, an insurance guy. You bring 15, 20 people. And you make them stay there for a couple hours.
While you go out to Wendy's, right?
Yeah.
And get a little...
eat lunch.
Yeah, eat lunch.
Make sure you're a little bit late. And by the time, about 30 minutes later, they're like, I'm going to leave this with you, and just can you lock up when you leave? Because I got to get back to work. I didn't know it was going to take all day. I tried to save you time. Ryan was with me, and one of the things that we're going to show you in the course that George and I are offering is he was videotaping me this house I bought last month, and videotaping me explain the contract, and I hadn't discussed a key, access, anything with this lady. And I'm halfway through the contract, and I get to my Addendum A that talks about that she's going to provide me with reasonable access to the property, da-da-da-da. And I just looked up, I said, can't you just give me a key so I don't have to bother you? And she just... And he was like, how did you do that? I said, it's just, you assume that they're selling to you for convenience, so you assume, and you need to just believe that it only makes sense that they give you a key. And then if they don't, you just make it so inconvenient for them that they'll fork over the key.
Mm-hmm. All right. So we've got the document library.
Oh, and on that, assure them that you'll accompany anyone that goes and hold up to that. Because what you don't want is to send an investor over and something comes up missing, and it's just bad. Just if they do give you a key, unless it's completely vacant, or actually when you start, I highly recommend that you go to every appointment with them and you make sure that house is locked and taken care of. Yes, sir.
You mentioned repairs on there. Are you not buying it as is? What?
Well, I mean,
repairs are you talking about?
What I do. What's your name?
Chuck.
Chuck. What I do, Chuck, is like I'm buying a house from you. I said, I'm pretty efficient. I like to line up all my contractors and my bids and make sure everything's ready to go. So, because we need to order our materials and we need to get going the day we close. So I got to bring all my foundation people in, get everything lined. I get 3 bids, and you just let them know how professional and efficient you are. And I mean, that's what you're getting bids for. And sometimes you might get that feeling that they think, well, hang on, I thought he just said that he was judge, jury, and executioner, and well, why does he need bids? And you just tell them, no, it has nothing to do with us. It's just about me trying to save money.
Yeah, and it might be actually also maybe surveys and things. That might have been easier because, you know, if you can, I know we're buying it as is, but can you fill out a seller's disclosure? And let's just check that out and make sure, you know, I see that there was an insurance claim on the property. Were repairs done? I just need to get some closure to that. Things like that you might ask because you're going to ask them, you know, I think it would be prudent to ask the seller if they didn't mind filling out a seller's disclosure. I don't know if you do that always, but I know I always try to get a seller to fill out and say, look, if roles will reverse, can you please fill out the seller's disclosure notice and let me know what's going on with the house since you've owned it. I know you're not an inspector. I know you're not in the business, but you know if the roof is 2 years old or 22 years old.
Yeah, and this is just to protect you, Nancy. You just go ahead and fill it out to the best of your ability. If you're not sure, just mark it U for unknown. I just need to have it in my file.
And that's what you're telling the seller, not you, Nancy. I mean, you know, you're telling that, Nancy, just fill it out as good as you can. And Nancy's the seller.
Right, Nancy's. I'm going to do a little experiment, which I know that sounds dangerous, but it doesn't involve fire or guns or anything like that. Where is it? I just got today. There it is. Okay.
Jennifer Hedge. I
This is
got their flyer regarding cash for houses. We're selling our parents' Jeffers. The number is 214-44. Thank you.
Y'all think we should call him? Let's call him. Keith, right?
That's too funny.
Hello?
Is this Keith?
Yeah.
Keith, Tim Harridge. You had called earlier about a postcard you got?
Yeah, you're the same one about buying homes, correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
How are you today?
Good. Yourself?
Oh, it's one of those days, just trying to stay cool.
Well, we got our parents' house on sale, and we've got a realtor selling it, but hadn't been moving, so just got your card. Wanted to see what you want to come by sometime, take a look at it, and see what you thought.
You got it listed with the realtor?
We do, but like I said, it hadn't been selling, so.
Well, is that a family friend, or is it just a realtor you called out of the yellow pages? I mean, because, you know.
No, it's a RE/MAX agent. We don't know her for anything, so.
How long is your listing agreement?
I don't know.
You don't know?
We had someone else, and they had it for about 3 months, and we had absolutely nobody even look at it. And so we decided to change to somebody else and see if they would actually do something. And like I said, I got your handout here, and I thought I'd check and see, if
How
you were doing
long-
something different. Or,
Yeah, how long ago did you switch to this new agent?
been about a week and a half.
And they hadn't sold it yet.
Well, no, and I wouldn't expect to do in that time frame, but
But you did sign a listing agreement?
yeah.
Okay. Well, I'll tell you what. Why don't you just tell me a little bit about the house?
Okay, well, it's about 48 years old, 2-story, 3-bedroom, 1.5 bath. Got an extra room. Make the garage into an additional room, so it can be, whatever, office, game room, additional bedroom.
Sounds like you got a lot of room if it's a 2-story. There's only 1.5 baths?
Correct.
Okay. Any major repairs needed?
No, it's in good shape. Completely paid for. Everything clear on the estate, so it's it's good to go. Got 2 brothers are co-executors, so they have to sign on it. But other than that, that's no issues.
What's the
it's in good shape.
That's in Mesquite?
Correct.
Okay, how much you got it listed for?
$84.99.
Just to, because, here's the deal. We're licensed realtors, so we're going to have to go through the realtor anyway. What, do you know about what you would take for the house?
No, originally we listed it at about 95, which is what it was assessed at. We realized the market, so we've gone down 10 grand on it. We would take less to get it sold. We're not desperate, but we don't want to hold on to it for 2 years or whatever. So.
Well, let me tell you the way it works. I'm an investor. I buy, fix, and sell, and there's got to be meat left on the bone afterwards for me to make money. And you said you started at 95 and it didn't sell, and now it's at 85 and it didn't sell, but you said it doesn't need any work. So, is there some things did you get any negative feedback at all from any showings, or just?
Well, there's been no showings, but yeah, there are some negatives with it. It only has 1 full bath. It does not have a garage. Like I said, we converted it. There's a 6x12 storage space, and then a room behind it, and then behind that's washer dryer area. It does not have central air. We have window units. So I think those are probably the main drawbacks.
Okay, and I can shoot straight. I can come out and take a look at it. I'd just schedule it through the realtor and look at it. Because since you have a valid listing agreement, that's just the way it has to go.
Sure.
And I can submit an offer, but Keith, I can tell you, we buy at a discount in order to resell and make a profit. So, figuring the house is say it's worth 90, and it needs central heat and air, and then I'm gonna tear up some walls. I'd probably spend 10 grand. I like to set expectations. My offer would probably be in the 40s or 50s.
Right. Well, come take a look at it and see what that's something I can put on the table with my brothers. It's up for us to decide how much is it worth it for us to get rid of it and move on. None of us have the expectation we're going to make what, if it had been on the market 5 years ago, perhaps, what it's going to make. It's not that market anymore.
Oh, I understand. Well, I'll tell you what, I've got a couple houses to look at tomorrow. I'll call the realtor, and I'll get everything set up. I'll go take a look at it, and I'll shoot a cash contract to your realtor tomorrow. And, your realtor's probably going to tell you, you can get more, let's lower it, let's try to drag it out. But I'll submit the cash offer to your realtor, and then if you guys want to do it, let's, just tell your realtor you want to pull the trigger, and we'll move forward.
Right. Well, good enough. Come take a look at it, see what you think, make an offer, and, if it's beyond what we're up for, then, no harm done.
Great. Thanks, Keith. Well, I'll come look at it tomorrow, and I'll be in touch with your realtor.
Okay. Thanks a lot.
Bye-bye. Well, let me tell you something. That's very interesting.
You can split the profit on that with all of us? And
Keith, you did great.
Wrote the address down. Do not go. It's amazing. This is how good.
No, we don't need you to call yet. No, we're good.
Thanks for answering. On the first ring. It's amazing. I can actually tell you that I looked at that house Friday, January 21st this year. It was the day before the expo. And I was on my way down there with all the banners and everything, and that was the house I had to stop and look at. And it was these three brothers, and they think they know everything. They should be here teaching. Swear to God. And I made him an offer back then. I think I offered him around 40. So he got that postcard, and he doesn't even remember who I was, because they weren't happy with my offer. They'd been drinking beer on a Friday. They were painting the house. They were changing doors, and you know, you're crazy, boy. I was like, and I told them about that central heating air. No, you know, window units have been 50 years. It's like, okay, man. How's that working in June when it's 100, buddy? So now they're feeling the pain. Now the brothers that were in town helping aren't nowhere to be found. So now the people dealing with the agents, it's no longer we oughta. It's I think you should. So now he's grabbing this card and he's like, hey, come on. So it was a probate lead originally, and then he got 2 postcards from him. Hadn't heard back from him. He called me today thinking I'm someone totally different. Don't ever cut a realtor out of the deal, by the way. It's wrong. Those people work hard for their money. And if you're a licensed agent, the Texas Real Estate Commission will come get you. And we'll go over the Addendum A in a minute. But George, go ahead.
All right, so how do we paper this up? If Keith wants to do this deal, all right, you already have in your mind 40 now.
Yeah.
Maybe 35. Hold on.
Okay, we lost.
No, we're back. Okay. So basically, you might even come in at 35 just on sheer principle. I know you.
Yeah. I may have to show him.
I know, yeah. You're going to show him that.
Whatever I offer, it will be in a multiple of 3. I promise you that. Because they're dividing. No, I'm serious. They're dividing it by 3. So, I mean, I'll probably offer, what, 42?
Yeah.
Nice round number, divisible by 3.
Okay, so you've got, let's quickly go through this contract. And everybody close your eyes. I just want to know, everybody close your eyes. Close your eyes, I know. Why? Because I don't want everybody to feel like uncomfortable when they well, Joanne, come on now. Come on. All right, how many of you guys have written on this contract? How many, okay, lower your hands. How many have not written using this contract? Raise your hand real tall. All right, so we're going to put down your hands. For those of you who have never used this is very important. And this is, I'm going to spend 5 minutes on this, which won't do it justice, but I've got a 40-minute presentation. I just don't know if that, we'll figure that out. I mean,
George is going to explain this the way you need to know to explain it to a self. You're not going to need to learn to read every word.
Right.
So this is about a 2,000-foot view, but you do need to find a way to get more information from either a realtor or from the 40-minute module that he has that's verbatim.
So I'll go through every paragraph and spend 45 minutes on this. All right. Bottom line, the parties involved. Not right now. Okay. We got the seller and the buyer. And the seller, obviously, you get from the appraisal district. And, you know, this is, I think, when you're going out to your truck and you're writing it up and you're running the numbers, you're actually, and it'd be a good idea to find out, hey, is it Mary Lou or is it, you know, because how do we title this thing up or paper this thing up? Because we need to know the legal name, and that's why it's helpful to have the appraisal district sheet on you, and then you can just verify, hey, if you don't mind, I'm going to go into the truck, I'm going to look at the numbers, and I'm going to actually come back with the written offer, if that's okay. Or that's after you verbalized it, and let me go back and let's paper it all up in the truck. So if we've agreed to 42 with Keith, then we put Keith's name up here at the top, right here. I don't know if you guys can see this pointer right here. And then your name, Joanne, would be right here. And Joanne Mariotti? Marotti, sorry. Marotti. And then what are you going to put? Now, Tim, you don't put...
I've changed.
Yeah. I like putting and or assigns. All right? So always put after you put your name. So if it was Tim Herridge, do you put it in your company name, or do you typically just put it in your name and you worry about putting it in the interest later, or in your company name later?
I always write it in the name of my C Corp.
Okay. So If you don't have a C Corp, Joanne, right now or tomorrow, then you need to put it in your name. So all of you guys, I would suggest y'all need to get with Brian and figure out, is it a C Corp, is it a series, is it an LLC, or just go get a darn DBA. All right?
Minimum, everyone here that doesn't have an entity on Monday, you need to go find a lunch break, go to the courthouse, file a DBA, and at least establish an identity.
It's a sole proprietorship. It doesn't give you any liability. It makes you look bad. You know, it's Marati Investments, you know, Dallas, or whatever it is. And then we put the lot block in subdivision here.
Where do you get those?
The lot and block is from the appraisal district. So you're going to print that out anyway because you're going to verify the square footage and the year of construction. You've got the county, which you'll know where that is because it's in your backyard. Known as, you put in the address here. Then you scroll down under D, exclusions, and this is if the homeowner or if Keith tells you he wants to take the window unit with him. Right? So we've got to put that in the contract.
Yeah, definitely.
All right. And then on the cash portion, that's where we put, Joanne, you're writing an all-cash offer, so we put $42,000 on 3A. 3A is there. On the financing, we put 0 because we're not getting a loan. We're paying all cash and or signs, right? Somebody's going to pay all cash. And then the sales price is $42,000. Now on 4, paragraph 4, because if I see that up on the screen, we're not going to put in anything there. Just leave it blank. Yes, sir.
You'd still put cash even if you were doing hard money, right?
You can, I would say, you can always change this during the option period. So yes, let's keep it simple. During your option period, you could come back and amend the contract.
And you're not required to write the financing if you're getting financing. You just need to understand the implications that if you decide to get financing, there's no contingency on that financing. So, I mean, you write a cash contract, you're saying that you are going to pay cash.
From somebody. Yeah. Okay, so on 4, I'm just going to leave it blank. I'm going to leave it blank. I'm not going to sign. I'm not going to do anything about third-party financing, credit approval, assumption, seller finance, nothing there. And then, Joanne, you're the buyer, so you're going to initial at the bottom of page 1. Does everybody follow me? Page 2. Everybody follow. Let me hear it. Let me hear it.
Shoulders, knees, and toes. Should we sing?
All right. So page 2, you put the address up on the top. You put the earnest money. And on earnest money, to make it a legal contract, how much earnest money do you have to put in? 0. You do not have to put earnest money down for it to be a valid contract. You do not have to. So if you want to put $10, if you want to put $1,000, that's up to you. I know sellers would feel better if you put earnest money up, but it's not a requirement. I'm not a real estate attorney, but I do know, I did play one on TV. No, I'm kidding. Okay.
What do you put in usually?
I put in 0. Now, if the seller says, what is that? Because they've done several transactions, I'd say, what would you like me to put in? $1,000, $500? I'd start at $500 and go from there. But if I'm writing it up, I'd put in 0. And then I'd put my title company there, which is Trinity or Republic or First American, whatever relationship you have with your closing agent. And if you don't have one, then you need to interview some. All right? There's lots of real estate clubs here. I like Trinity Title, Michelle Zachary, but she's in North Dallas. Wherever you're at, I need it to be convenient for you because nowadays they don't do couriers and you got to drop off these contracts. So I want it to be close and convenient for you. So interview a title company. They're in the commodity business. All right? Everybody's selling the same stuff. It's title insurance. It's the relationship that you build with that closing agent is where it differentiates. When there's issues, you need them to step up to the plate, and that's why you start building that relationship.
I have to touch on that because in the assignment game, there are a lot of things that can be said, and if said the wrong way, will scare the living daylight out of a seller. And if you're working with the right title company, they either know how to say it or they know that they should probably call you, not probably, they know they should call you first and say, Tim, we had this, or your investor just decided that he's going to not close. You said you're not going to pay cash for this one. It's going to take a couple of extra days. What do we do? And then they work with you not to lie, not to deceive, but to make sure you act like a politician and put a good positive spin on it. So just carefully select your title company.
And I would just suggest that you look at title companies that have a relationship with real estate clubs, right? I mean, like someone was telling me, Galen Longren, and I don't know, I've never closed with her. I mean, but I know she's at another.
Well, who do you use?
I use Michelle Zachary in Trinity.
I use Chicago Title, Tommy Harold's office in Garland. He's been there for 40 years, and they do all my stuff. Yes, ma'am.
I've used Galen Lonergan
Okay.
for all my stuff.
Yeah. And in Tarrant County, you know, who really cares about that? Sorry. It was a joke.
That was low. I knew that was coming. There's usually one or two zingers that he'll throw out, and that was one of them. Okay.
Tarrant County can we use? Because it's a long drive to Lonergan's.
Yeah. Well, you just need to.
We'll get you some referrals.
Yeah, we can get you some referrals if you join the program. All right. Title: seller shall furnish to buyer at seller's or buyer's expense. It's your call. I mean, most sellers, it's kind of how you position this. You don't want to just fill this in. You've got to go over it. So I typically would write an offer where, look, I told you I want to pay for everything. I'm going to pay for the title policy. Okay? So bottom line is put in that, Joanne, you're going to buy, your buyer will pay. And you need to understand that's 1%. Okay? But you're selling it to me anyway. So you're going to pass it on. Yeah. All right. And that's issued by the same title company. Trinity, Chicago, whoever. What else? Survey. Ask the homeowner, Joanne, if they have a survey. How old is it? Yes, sir.
Sorry, before you get too far away from the title company, what are we looking for when we interview a title company? What questions should we?
References.
Yeah. How many investors do you do? Do you do double closings? Do you do assignments of contracts? Does your underwriter, are they okay with that? I'm going to have some creative real estate deals. I'm going to have short sale. I need you. Another thing is I write a lot of offers, and they're on short sales and things. I need you to prepare HUD-1s for me, or for Kathy, and my office manager, and stuff like that. Are you willing to work? Or do you just want me to bring you only the easy ones?
Yeah, I mean, if there's 19 errors, are you going to charge me $10,000 for doc pro? I say that, but I mean, I've had 19 errors on a $30,000 house. The title company's making $200 for that transaction, and you've got letters, testamentary, and affidavits of heirship times 19, and it's a lot of work. And they just have to understand they're going to get it in the end, but they're not going to get it from you on that deal.
Do you want a little bit of my business, none of my business, or all? So it's one of those things. I told Michelle, I said, look, you were referred to me by my, I love my title rep down in Austin. And I don't do much deals in Austin, but she asked me to work with you. I don't know you, but I know her, and I trust her. And so here's the deal. I'm not going to pay retail. I'm not going to pay escrow. I'm going to do it, but I'm going to give you a lot of business. She's like, let's try it out. And so I said, I'm going to need a lot of HUD-1s. I do some pretty creative stuff. Everything's legal, but I need you to step up if you want my business. And she's like, let's try it. So bottom line is that's what you want, is you want somebody who will step up and work. And when, anyone can do the easy ones. All right. We're on 6. So we went over that, come down to the survey, and that's 6C. I want to ask Joanne, I want you to ask, do you have a survey? How old is it?
Isn't that, because I checked on my own property records with the county,
Right.
and I found a survey there.
No, it's not recorded. Surveys aren't recorded typically.
You might have found the plat map.
Yeah,
You didn't find a
you got
survey.
the plat map, but a survey is basically where a surveyor went out, not the developer who submitted the subdivision plat map, but this is just your property, and it shows all the easements, encroachments, TXU and all that. Most people, when they get a loan, they get a survey, or they're required to.
Isn't that usually with the, if they still have their closing documents?
Yep, absolutely. Yeah, and the one thing is if it's over 15 years old, most title companies might not warrant it, even though no work has been done. You'll have to check, and that's a question you ask your title company is your underwriter warranted if no new additions have been made? Can we still use the existing survey? Typically, over 15 years, a lot of them will say, they want a new survey. So, but that's a question to ask. You need to write down, ask seller, do they have one? Right? That's what, because that'll save someone $350, right? Because that's what it costs to get a new one. Scroll down on objections. Don't write anything, just initial. You don't have any objections. You know, I mean, you could put in I used to always write in that this property has to be allowed to do a pool, a swimming pool, but I'm like, look, this is a wholesale deal, forget it. Buyer, you just initial that on page 3. I think it's, 6E2. It's the Homeowners Association. Is this or is this not in a mandatory membership homeowners association? You check that accordingly, and if it is in an HOA, you have to add a new addendum, which is a mandatory, an HOA addendum, which is not in your packet. I'm sorry. You can download that off, you can download that off the off the TREC website.
Well, and every one of you have access to the Flip That Contract back end portal, and we'll upload that with the packet.
There you go.
This afternoon. All this stuff will be uploaded by Monday morning.
All right, 3. So that's it on page 3. 4. Page 7 or paragraph 7 is the seller's disclosure. Just the one thing is, have you or have you not? You haven't because you just basically went over there. They need to fill it out. You need to understand that you have 7 days at the minimum. What if Keith says, I don't want an option period. I've been down that road. Tim. I'm sorry. I'm not. You need to buy it as is or not. I'd say fine, no problem. If it were me, because I'd say, now just give me the seller's disclosure. I need that. And what does that say? I have 7 days after he gives me a seller's disclosure by law without an option period, which I haven't covered yet. I have the unrestricted right to back out of this deal for 7 days.
This is where Ron in the course is really going to help you out, because there's a little trick most sellers don't know is actually by Texas property code, and the state doesn't have to furnish a survey. So Keith could pull that card on me, but
what do you mean the state?
The Texas property code estates do not have to, if it's in the title of an estate.
Right. If they've never,
but if they deeded it out to the heirs, then they do have to provide.
That's true. All right, accept it. Yeah. So always ask for the seller's disclosure. I got to speed it up. Initial at the bottom. Page 5, closing. Excuse me. At the top of page 5, you have a homeowners associate or a home warranty. Leave that blank. That'll confuse them. We don't need it. Closing, what do you typically do? 30 days? 45 days?
30 days.
30 days is a good round number for me. So whatever today is, today's the 11th, we're looking at July 10th.
And then if Medardo says, hey, no, I thought you said you could close real quick. I say, well, I can. And you notice it says on or before. I'm just the kind of person I like to under-promise and over-deliver. So we write 30. If we can do it quick sooner, we will.
Possession upon closing and funding. Paragraph 11 is special provisions. If you see something, the only thing I put in there is the buyer is a licensed real estate agent.
I put C Addendum A.
Yeah. So the buyer is a licensed real estate agent, and we're going to go over his Addendum A. Or our Addendum A, sorry.
It's okay.
Mediation on page 5 or 6. I will or will not. I typically check will. And then I initial at the bottom. Page 7. Notices. Put in your address, your name, address, telephone, fax, and email.
Right there, make sure the seller gives you every piece of contact information they have.
Okay.
Because then the title company will have it, and they don't have to call and ask you for it.
Page 8 is you check which addendum is attached to this. And this is where you would put, Tim, your or our Addendum A. Right? There is an addendum, so you need to check the other box. You see that right here? Just above 23, you need to check that and put Addendum A. And then you also need to check Addendum for property subject to mandatory membership, and check the lead-based paint, which is right here. if it is a house that's built, Joanne, prior to what year?
1978.
You are correct. All right, last thing is paragraph 23. Everybody knows this, or maybe you do, maybe you don't, but sorry. Termination option. This gives you the unrestricted right. I would put in $20. I usually have a $20 bill on me. $20 for 15 days or 20 days. However long you can get it. Because, Joanne, you have the unrestricted right, so we want to give ourselves 20 days or 10 days to shop this deal around. If you put in there 5 days, that means you have to find a buyer pretty quickly. So 10 to 20 days. If you can't find someone in 10 days, you probably don't have a great deal. Right?
Either that or you didn't do the work that it took to market.
Right. Which we're going to teach you. Look, here's how to run. You already know how to run the numbers with the SOS, right? Now we need to get you to start marketing this. But just put that it will be applied down here. It will be applied. Consult an attorney. We don't have an attorney. And then, Joanne, you would date it. Not date it, but you would sign it as the buyer. And the seller would sign it. And then once everybody signs it, that's when you date it. The last thing on page 9 is the option fee. Always get the seller to sign that and put that, you gave it to them in cash or a check. The receipt of the $20, it's right here, the option fee, because technically if you don't deliver the funds, it's not a contract. So you have to, if you put in $20, you better give it to them within 48 hours.
And get their signature.
Yeah. And the last thing that you need to do is most important is up here on the broker information. Okay, right up here at the top left. Always write in. Y'all write this down. Okay, 0457945. Down here, I like y'all. I thought we bonded today. Let's just put 1% on the first 3 contracts. Can we do that? Why aren't y'all writing?
That's a cheap commission, George.
Okay. All right, that's it on the contract.
My wife will do it for 0.5%.
Yeah. All right, we got the, what's next? What's next on your sheet? It's the Addendum A, isn't it?
Right.
Okay, this
Tim's
is
gonna
the
quickly go over
dummy addendum. This is the obvious stuff that you have to disclose. Number 1, seller is aware that the blank, president, manager, owner, whatever, of blank, whatever entity you're buying in, is a licensed real estate agent if you're licensed, or if you're a licensed attorney, you have to disclose that. If you're a licensed professional of anything, you should disclose it. And in no way are you representing the seller. You make sure the seller understands, because if you're a realtor and you're out there doing it, you want to crystal clear, I'm not your realtor. Number 2 says blank, the name of your company, and its affiliates are professional home buyers and buy and sell houses below market value for a profit. Kind of redundant, but hey. Buyer will pay all normal closing costs for both buyer and seller, excluding any tax prorations, liabilities, mortgages, etc., or any commissions they've agreed to pay that they've agreed to pay a realtor. You put that out there, you put it in writing. That's where you're guaranteeing them that you're going to pay these closings. But this is your point. Do this, or you will have a screaming mad seller. Make sure they understand they have to pay any taxes owed on the house up until the day of closing at this point. When sometimes people will assume you're paying their property taxes if you don't make sure they understand that you're not. I had a house in West Dallas that I was buying for $40,000, and they had a $47,000 tax lien against the house, and they thought I was paying. That was back in 2004. So make sure you read that. Number 4 says that the house has to be vacant, and anyone that is living there has to move out. And if not, then they have to escrow $5,000 at the closing and sign a temporary residential lease. That's your squatter provision. You always, any good investor walks every house they're buying the morning that they're buying it, and you find squatters in houses. Or what happens is Brian says he's moving out. Brian and I agree, but then the day of closing, Brian says, hey man, I need the money to pay for the U-Haul thing and to move. Okay, well, you're going to leave $5,000 of your money at the title company with me until you get out, and it's going to cost you $100 a day. I have had people walk away from the entire $5,000. It's like bonus. number 6 says that I get reasonable access to the property prior to closing for insurance evaluations and contractor bids. Look, I'm not trying to hide anything, but there's no need to say so that I can sell your house for more money than I'm giving you.
Because you are probably at one point in time going to get a contractor at one of these properties.
Yes.
So it's just kind of a general. But we do need to get investors over there so we can show the house.
And number 7 is consent for me to market and show the property prior to closing. And then this big bold paragraph is the paragraph that the Texas Real Estate Commission made me put in after a lady sued my wife, a realtor reported my wife to TREC, and we spent 1.5 years in depositions. Notice to seller, this offer must be presented through your realtor if you have a valid listing agreement. Seller signed a listing agreement, and then the next day, kind of like that phone call we just had, decided they didn't like the realtor, took her sign out of the yard, put it around the back of the house, called us, we went and bought the house. Problem is, had a valid listing agreement. And even though everything else was disclosed, TREC decided that that's the one thing that we could have done to avoid the stupidity of the moral. So, now it's in bold, all caps, right before the signature. And that's the Addendum A. If you have any other complications, if there's something that, use this addendum to add anything else that you need to disclose. Any agreement ever, put it in writing. Don't trust anyone. Not me, not him, not a seller. Don't trust someone to do what they say they're going to do. Document it, make it part of the transaction, then there's no argument to be had.
All right. We don't need to go over the seller's disclosure. It's pretty self-explanatory, so it's 5 pages. I just brought it up here. On the termination of contract, that's the one thing there is going to be times, Joanne, where you're not going to find a deal. It's a marginal deal. I told you it was marginal, but I said, let's syndicate it, let's blast it out and see if we can find somebody that will pay you $2,000, $3,000, $4,000 more than you have it under contract. It doesn't work out. Not all the deals are going to work out, Joanne, so you need to do what with the contract? Terminate. So this is the document. Again, all these documents are going to be online, a soft copy. Who do you need to mail this to, or fax this to? The title company. All right? Even though you don't have earnest money with them, if you did have earnest money, you have the unrestricted right to back out and terminate and get back your earnest money.
Where does the seller sign?
The seller doesn't have to sign
Right.
if it's during the option period. Now, the release of earnest money is if you try to back out and get your earnest money back after the option period. The seller does not have to sign. All you need to do, and this is in the case of, you need to do this anyway, whether there's earnest money or not, is you need to fax this to the title company, and it would be nice if you fax it or email it to the seller to let them know. It's just good business, but the seller doesn't have to sign, and they're going to go, well, we're not going to give you your earnings. Actually, yeah, it's my unrestricted right per paragraph 23, page 8 of the TREC contract. All right. I just thought it would be helpful for you guys to know. Lead-based paint, y'all can figure that out. The seller is supposed to tell us, do they know that there's lead-based paint? Most sellers that I've ever talked to have no knowledge. I've never had them say, oh yeah, I know.
Yeah, you fill that one out real easy. You just ask the seller, do you have any knowledge of lead-based paint in this house? When they say no, you say check 1B.
Yeah.
You say, do you have any reports of lead-based paint in the house? When they say no, you say check